What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into TTP Sports. Decided to go the recorded version for recaps right now with the Flyers because, hence, it's Flyers After Dark, and currently I am recording this at 1:05 in the morning, directly after the Flyers dropped their second game of the season to the Calgary Flames. They lose by a score of 6-3, and so in the first two games of the season, Flyers start out 1-1, and that's probably the most logical way that you can look at it, and probably, prediction wise, just looking at the first two games of the season. Okay, they end off preseason. They didn't play for basically a week before going into the Vancouver game last night. So they find a way to win that one, played a pretty good game, found a way to, improve as the game went along. They tie it up with Cam York's, goal that the refs didn't realize at first, and they managed to bring that into overtime. They get a point, they bring it to a shootout, they tie it late there in the shootout, and Morgan Frost gets the game winner there. So you get your first 2 points of the season. Then you directly have to fly to Calgary to play the Calgary Flames, which is also their home opener. And they did a nice little tribute to Johnny Gaudreau. Definitely shed a tear there a little bit, brought the feelings back for that entire situation. But, it was going to be a very hungry Flames team who had a very good win against Vancouver previously when they were down 4-0 and found a way to win 5-4 in overtime against the Canucks. So, it would be a Flames team that was pesty, and the Flames definitely played, I would say, a pesty brand of hockey today. Flyers, the shot totals definitely go in the Flyers' favor. The Flyers outshot Calgary 40-33. Definitely does not tell the entire story, though. Flyers, obviously, on a back-to-back, it's your first two games of the season. There is going to be some fatigue involved, and I think you started to sense the fatigue as the game was going along, especially getting into the later stages of that third period when the Flyers were trying to come back into the game and try to tie it up 3-3. They had their chances 100%. There were some power plays mixed in there. Flyers, I would say, even on the power play perspective, not even like Flyers power plays, but just penalties in general. Definitely a little too many penalties for my liking in these first couple of games. Flyers they took a bunch last night against Vancouver, and they take 5 here tonight, and Calgary manages to score on 2 of them, one of those early in the game. And also you see some different things with the lineup tonight. Noah Cates slots in for Jet Lutchenko, and Torts said that it was nothing really to do with anything that happened last night. They just want to ease Jet into everything, especially since it's a big transition from juniors into the NHL, because you don't do this major type of traveling when you're playing up there in the O. So, and also since he's very young, 18, one of basically the youngest player on the team, Torts thought of it as a learning experience. Okay, you played your first game yesterday, now you get to see what it's like viewing from above, watching the vets play out and everything like that. So, basically just easing him into everything and not putting too much of a workload on Jet, which is kind of the vibe that I'm getting from the entire situation. Definitely not a benching or a mind game type of situation, just more of a, okay, let's just take it easy right here. You got your first game last night. Take it easy. It's a back-to-back. This is your first time experiencing this, basically, so we're not going to put that much, on your plates right here. Go relax up in the press box, view from the game from above and everything like that, and you'll be good to go when we go over to Edmonton and everything there. So, definitely would like to see Jet back in the lineup, and I do expect him back into the lineup when they play in Edmonton on Tuesday, and it's nice the Flyers get a couple of days off here. Just of course when they start their season, they have to already play a back-to-back. So get into some traditional Flyers hockey here. A lot of fucking back-to-backs for some reason. The NHL loves to schedule that with this team. So hey, it's nothing that you can do anything about. You have to play the schedule in front of you, and the NHL just happened to schedule you a back-to-back for your first two games of the season. So definitely a lot of positives to take away from both games. Some negatives, I would say, more on the Calgary side, and a lot of those have to go towards the penalties, the fatigue, the defensive lapse there at the end of the game where you were trying to come back into it. That one shift where I believe you were in the offensive zone. It was the later stages of the third period. Travis Sanheim pinches in when you're, cycling through in the offensive zone. Cam York takes a shot, gets blocked. Calgary instantly goes up for a 2-on-1, and they just basically just force Fedotov to go down first, and they get a nice pass over to get that, fourth goal right there to make it 4-2. And then eventually another breakdown in the defensive zone off of a faceoff. Uberdo gets another point there and another goal, made it 5-2. So, you know, basically an instant breakdown there in a couple of seconds, which kind of does change the feeling of the game for, okay, you fought in there, definitely fatigue settled in. It's a, a nice, you fought basically the entire time, you stayed within it the entire time, kind of went to, oh God, it's getting out of hand. Oh boy. Oh boy. They do get another goal, Flyers that way, with, they make it 5-3. Matvei Michkov gets his first NHL point. Love seeing that as well. Sadly, I wish the game was a little bit more closer to where the point feels, I guess, more meaningful and to where you can get more excited about that. But hey, first point is first point, first of many for Matvei Michkov, and he definitely probably should have had more, at least 2 points in this game, because he had a beautiful setup, and I believe this was in the third period as well on a power play. Had a beautiful setup backdoor to Travis Konechny, and Konechny either got his stick lifted or one of the Calgary defenders was just playing his stick perfectly to where TK just couldn't apply that pressure on the puck with a wide gaping open net there, which would have tied the game up, which kind of sucked there. And it was like, come on, TK, you gotta fucking bury that shit, man. Give Matvei his fucking first point, even though it did eventually happen on that power play in the later stages of the game. But, it feels like the point would have been more meaningful if it was, a sequence to tie the game instead of making it 5-3 in garbage time, basically. So that kind of sucks there. But hey, it is what it is. You get your first point out of the way. And Matvei Michkov, definitely, I would say the pattern in the first 2 games, definitely a little bit unnoticeable in the first stages. And I guess that's granted with, your adjustment from preseason to regular season action to where you're not playing, more AHL style players, some younger players in the preseason. Now you're getting into full NHL squads, NHL rostered players. And that's definitely an adjustment there for even a 19-year-old, even though Matvei Michkov played against pro players over in the KHL. It's still definitely an adjustment when you're playing at the NHL game, but something that became more noticeable was Matvei Michkov as the game definitely progressed, and he's definitely more of a difference on the power play too. The way that he can just find time and space and the creativity that he has to make some passes. Oh boy, if they could find a way to fully unlock that, which they definitely will, because Matvei Michkov will just get better as the season goes along. With the way that he's improving as the game progresses in these first 2, he's 100% going to keep improving and constantly improve as this season's going along. It's going to be a very fun watch from the aspect of Michkov, but just the way that he can just facilitate some passes. He has some beautiful things there. Even Saul on the bench after TK missed it on, that one setup on the power play. Even Michkov, like, damn, like he was shaking his head like he knew that should have been a goal. And, sometimes shit happens like that. There's been quite a few of those in the first 2 games for Michkov. That one setup that he had, I believe it was in the third period against Vancouver, where I believe it was Lankin, the goaltender, completely robbed him and Luchenko of possible points there. So definitely a little bit of unluckiness for Michkov, I guess you could say there. But he does get a point out of the way, so sooner or later the goal will come out of the way there. So eventually these things will come one by one, and as like you keep seeing with Michkov constantly improving in these first 2 games as it goes along, you'll see that progress to where, maybe he doesn't get that, unnoticeable start and he's going right from the get-go, and you could probably see that as you progress throughout this regular season and throughout his rookie season here, which I said is going to be a very, 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 very fun watch for this Flyers squad. And like even going back to Jet Luchenko too, even though he had that little bit of a mistake on the one Vancouver goal, I thought there definitely were some things that were very noticeable from Jet's game. The dude is fast. The dude can skate. There is a presence there when that guy is on the ice to where, he could just skate and stride and he's just completely all over everywhere because the man is that fast. Dude is fast. If you just watch it from just go and watch Jet Luchenko on a shift, and that's basically from last night's game, and watch, I guess, as the season goes along, depending on how long he is up here at the NHL level. But the kind of the, I guess kind of the gut feeling that I'm getting kind of makes it feel like that they are trying to, I would say, keep him up here for the full season. It doesn't really, I really don't get that vibe that they want to send him down after a 9 game trial. And also, if you're wondering, what does this, him not playing tonight, does that have anything to do with the 9 game trial? Doesn't really sound like it. And apparently, since he didn't play tonight's game, it doesn't go against the 9 game trial. So technically, he still has 8 games left to play before that period is up, before they have to make a decision there. So at least that's a benefit there. But just go watch Jet Luchenko, some of the shifts and just the speed and the creativity that he has. He can get all over the ice, and I think that's why Torts likes him so much. The way that he works on the ice, and he's definitely a Torts guy, and Torts showed that praise during the training camp in the preseason, which is one of the reasons why Jet made the team. So there's definitely a lot of exciting stuff here. The power play, they scored on power plays 2 games in a row. Shocker. Definitely was not expecting that. I would say power play wise, it definitely looks a little more fluid, a little more creative, and that's definitely, granted when you have more creative people in those areas, especially a guy like Matvei Michkov, that definitely helps that aspect out a ton. So, some good things that I've seen from the power play in these 2 games. Like I said, with the creativity, the passing, more fluid. The one thing that I will knock is still entrances into the zone on the power play. Still very sloppy, still very eh. They have trouble getting across the blue line, trying to get set up from that aspect. And also something that also comes down to it is winning the face-off in the offensive zone when you do have the power play, because that can, lead to so much, and that is the most important thing that you need to do in order to set up in the offensive zone when you have a power play from the get-go. Got to win that face-off because it can lead to so many beneficial things there. And that's one thing this Flyers team is probably going to be struggling with, and they have struggled with over the past couple of years, basically since not having Claude Giroux anymore. Even though Sean Couturier is still a very good face-off man, it's basically the only guy they have there, because I don't think this Flyers team wins that many face-offs, to be honest with you. Even though it says right here on NHL.com in this game against Calgary, the Flyers won the face-off battle 54.5%. The Calgary's 45.5%. Did not feel like it. Did not feel like it whatsoever. And I do think the Flyers lost the face-off battle in last night's game against Vancouver. So that's just something that you got to look out for as the season goes along with the power play. So there's definitely something there. Penalty kill still looks very good, even though Calgary did score 2 goals today. One of those was on a 5-on-3. And the one power play goal, I would say more goes on the blame of Ivan Fedotov, and he does get the start in tonight's game against Calgary. Definitely completely different than what, Sam Ersson put on last night in Vancouver. Ersson was just on a completely different level. He was fantastic last night and was the main reason why the Flyers even won last night's game. Just the way that Ersson was a complete game changer. Fedotov, some good moments, some shaky moments, some like I said, very moments there. I'm not going to harp on him too badly since it's only the first game of the season for him, but there definitely was a lot more shakiness, I would say, than good, I would say, from Fedotov. And I think Fedotov is probably the biggest question mark of the goaltending tandem with, Ersson, because we kind of know what Ersson can be when he plays at the top of his game. We still really don't know what Fedotov can be at this level because he really hasn't had that much experience in the NHL. So he's still technically a rookie at this point. So there's definitely going to be some growing pains with Fedotov, and I think people are going to raise him to a higher expectation just because of the contract that he does have. But even though that's, you can't fault people for that because he is making it like what, $3 million a season for the next couple of years or something like that. But definitely he did make some saves, especially when the game was close, to keep the Flyers involved. It's just that sometimes he makes things look a little bit more awkward than they need to be. He's kind of a little bit slow on tracking the puck, and maybe that's something that improves as the season goes along, as he gets more comfortable in the NHL, unless that's just something that's an Ivan Fedotov thing, where he's just slow with tracking the puck. And the one thing that I really didn't like from the second goal that he allowed, the Uyghur, on that power play, he played way too deep in his net. That's something that I don't want to see happen consistently. And it's something that just, that I say about a lot of goaltenders, a lot of the very tall goaltenders in this league. Sometimes I think I saw Fedotov play a little bit too small for his size. I just say if you're that tall, you're 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", or whatever, how tall Fedorov is. He's a very tall guy. Play to your size. Play to your size and use that as your advantage. Sometimes it just kind of looks like where, things that he should see, he's kind of having trouble tracking the puck and everything like that. And like I said, with some saves, makes it a little bit too awkward. Maybe a little bit of, I would say communication issues, maybe with, handing the puck off to someone or something like that. He did make some nice saves in today's game, don't get me wrong, but there were definitely a little bit more awkwardness. The first goal was definitely just very weird. Uberdo crosses into the slot, goes off of his arm, and it goes into the net. Really nothing Fedotov can do about that, as Uberdo is literally crossing through the crease as that entire situation happens. So you really can't blame anything there on Fedotov. The third goal, it was a 5-on-3. Ristolainen tried to pinch on the pass on the player behind the net, and that left Kadri wide open for the one-timer. I guess you would like to see Fedotov challenge that a little bit more and be more prepared for that. That's, one thing right there. The 2-on-1 goal, definitely nothing Fedotov can do about that. It's just the Flyers breaking down in the offensive zone. Too many guys pinched, and you had a 2-on-1, passer makes the goalie flinch first, and you get a wide open net for the one-timer. And then, not sure what happened on the fifth goal. I guess no one knew where the puck was. Everyone was having trouble tracking where it was or something like that. I have really no idea. But, yeah, I would say definitely a very shaky game more than not for Fedotov, and that really comes down to basically the game got out of hand there at the end. So, some interesting things. Penalty kill, scoring a shorty again, 2-on-1 there with TK and Lawton. Probably a little too many passes for my liking, but TK managed to bury it on the second pass from Lawton there, thinking they were passing a little too much, but they managed to bury it. So always nice when the power kill, as they call it, gets on the board there. Joel Farabee had a nice goal, and it was a beautiful fucking pass from Bobby Brink. Saucer pass all the way across the ice in the offensive zone. Farabee just able to bury it in there. So that was beautiful to see. So there definitely were some good moments in this game. I think a lot of things are just going to be a little bit overshadowed by the breakdown there at the end of the game, most likely. So the score really doesn't tell the tale of the entire game. But like I said, that breakdown more at the end, I'm not sure if fatigue had to do anything with that or just something there. But it definitely did get out of hand. But, nothing really too dramatic, I would say. You start the season off 1-1 in a back-to-back situation. I guess that's probably the best case scenario. Even though the best case scenario would be winning these two games back-to-back. So that would 100% be the best case scenario. But I think if you thought logically and everything right there, your first game of the season, and then you instantly got to play back-to-back, probably would expect logically to split those two games if I guess you were a normal thinker at the end of the day. So, not really going to harp too much. There were some positives. There were some negatives. Negatives, easily, some of those things they can definitely clean up. The turnovers, the penalties, and all that stuff. Those things can be cleaned up as the season goes along. It's really more, I would say, the mistakes that they were making. Some of those things are just like, early season mistakes. You clean those up as the season goes along. It's really more some of those things. I don't expect this team to break down that much in the defensive zone like they did in those last few minutes as the season goes along as much. You're going to have those instances, at some points throughout the season. It's not going to be that consistently. So, definitely. And like I said, I think fatigue settled in there too at the end of the day, playing the back-to-back and it being your first two games of the season. So, we'll see how everything progresses here. So, overall, not really much to complain about here in the first two games. If you really want to, say much. It's funny. It's funny, like when you see on Twitter, a lot of people are really harping on Fedotov because I guess a lot of people are really skeptical about what Fedotov can be. But it's early in the guy's career. I don't think it's anywhere close to write the guy off. You know what I mean? I think it's just the contract that he got and everything like that. People are going to be very skeptical about that. So we'll see. Goaltending was always going to be the question mark for this team this year. We'll see how Ersson continues to build off the first game that he had last night in Vancouver, because that was pure excellence that he had last night. And I'm sure Fedotov will get better as the season progresses, but there definitely are some, lingering concerns with Fedotov, just with the style that he plays, and that's a lot of things to do with, tall goaltenders. Like I said, I think Fedotov right now plays a little too small for his size, if that makes sense. Kind of, hunches down a little bit too much and everything. I think you can use your size to your advantage for some tall goaltenders. If you look at, some of the more successful look at Ben Bishop. I feel like he used his size to his advantage, and he was a really good goaltender. Granted, injuries really hindered the rest of his career, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. I'm also trying to see if there's anything late here from Torts. Probably will be happening in the next few minutes, but also it's very late here at night. It's 1:30 in the morning, and I do got to get this posted up for you guys here. Probably just going to post it right now, basically. So, because, tomorrow and everything like that, well, technically today is Sunday. It's going to be more Eagles based, so that'll be more the focus. So, I think the best thing would be to do would be to end this off right here. So, not really much from the Anytime Hotline. Just wanted to get this recap up for you guys so we really didn't go quiet after this game. So, if we're looking at what's on the docket for the next few days, obviously Eagles tomorrow are the focus. Monday, we'll see how things go. Tuesday is Flyers in Edmonton, and I might do another live stream during that game, playing it by ear to see how things go there, and as we continue for the rest of the week. So, right now, Flyers are 1-1 on the season. Definitely very excited for the rest to come, the rest of the 80 games that are remaining. So, we'll see how everything progresses here, boys. So, that'll do it for tonight. Appreciate you all for tuning in as always. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Don't forget to drop a like. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It does me a great deal of service. We are 13 subscribers away from 1,000. So definitely would love to get over that milestone, and you guys have been a major help for that. So definitely help it even further, and let's break that goal there. Also use the code TTP Sports, $20 off your first purchase at SEATGEEK. Great deal. Don't pass it up. Thanks, guys, for tuning in tonight. I'll see you next time.